TBS.
You want local news that impacts you?
We've got you covered.
We're on your side.
This year, don't settle for less than a Honda. Visit your local Augusta Aiken Honda dealer.
Help us fight for life and train the CSRA. Contact the American Heart Association for details.
On your side, this is News 12 First at 5.
South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster said virtual learning is not as good as in-person learning. Hear what he has to say today as he pushed for schools to reopen classrooms.
Plus, 3 districts moving one step closer now to starting the school year this fall. We'll break down what their plans are.
Governor McMaster says when schools are back in session, they must be open 5 days a week.
He did not make an executive order, but he says he has asked the state superintendent, Molly Spearman, to reject reopening plans that do not allow for 5 days of in-person learning along with virtual learning. Schools have until Friday to submit plans.
The governor also suggesting districts delay the start of the school year until September to get their plans together.
There's nothing more essential, nothing more important that we can do than educate the children of South Carolina. And try as we might, we know that virtual education is not as good for most children as face-to-face, in-class education, teaching with an excellent qualified teacher, of which we have an abundance.
Superintendent Molly Spearman was not at the governor's news conference today. She issued this statement, though, afterwards, saying, quoting here, "Our goal must be a return to 5-day-a-week in-person instruction as safely and as soon as possible. We cannot, however, turn a blind eye to the health and safety of our students and staff when the spread of the virus in some of our communities is among the highest in the world. School leaders, in consultation with public health experts, are best positioned to determine how in-person operations should be carried out to fit the needs of our local communities." Aiken County has 48 hours to submit their plans to the state.
Last night, they gave parents the option for 100% in-person learning, a hybrid system, or fully virtual learning. As of now, they plan to start with that hybrid model. Brady Trappel joining us now live. And so, Brady, what is the school system saying today?
Well, Richard, I was actually just told by the school system in the past 10 minutes that they're planning to call a special board meeting for next Tuesday to review their plans after Governor McMaster's comments this morning that, of course, conflicted with their hybrid model. Now, of course, we can assume that this likely won't affect their remote learning plan, which is called Aiken Innovate. And that plan, teachers will teach online and students will only learn online. Now, school officials say that will give students the opportunity to have an organized schedule just like at school. For instance, from 10 to 11, they will engage with their live English class, or it may be pre-recorded and there's discussion afterwards. Now, for those who don't have internet, the school system says they'll provide hotspots, and if that doesn't work, students could download their materials onto a laptop a week ahead of time. Some parents say that this option still won't be best for their kids.
They lost a lot of valuable learning and instruction by virtual. I really feel there's just not going to be a foolproof way to make this happen.
Now, at this point, the deadline to register for Aiken Innovate is on Monday, and the school district says they will be flexible because, of course, and as we've learned in the past 10 minutes, things change very quickly with this situation, and we will have more on what in-person learning could look like now or what some of those changes may be on News 12 at 6 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Brady, for staying on top of that for us. Here's a look at where things stand in Columbia County now. Schools are requiring masks for teachers and high schoolers, recommending them, though, for elementary students. They're also preparing for what to do if a student starts showing symptoms at school. They decided a student must wait 3 days after showing symptoms to be able to go back to school. If you still want to opt into the online option, you can email the board with that request. The start of the school year is slated for August 3rd for everyone attending in person. Richmond County, meanwhile, delaying their opening until September the 8th. The district has also responded to parent concerns about child care by proposing a traditional model that's 5 days a week instead of 4. If COVID cases continue to surge, they'll move everyone primarily online. They extended the deadline for registering for the online model until July 27th.
So what about high school football this fall? Today, the South Carolina High School League passed a plan for the football season to be pushed back. Sports Director Mike Yakachona shows us what that will look like.
South Carolina High School League member schools have a better idea of what their fall seasons will look like, though they will be shorter than usual. The league is pushing back the official practice start date to August 17th, with the first football games of the season scheduled for September 11th. The league could decide to push the start date back as far as October 2nd, depending on the current COVID conditions. SCHSL Commissioner Jerome Singleton also made it clear that students who choose virtual learning will still be able to play.
If you are a member student of the school, then you're eligible to play. That's the only standard at hand. You've got to be a student of the school that you represent. Didn't say you have to be present.
Coming up at 6, I'll break down the fall plans even further.
Thank you, Mike, very much. The executive order extending existing COVID-19 safety measures in Georgia expires tonight. Governor Brian Kemp signed that order last month, banning social gatherings of 50 and mandatory criteria for businesses. That is set to expire at midnight. The executive order that extends the public health state of emergency is still in effect. That runs through August 11th. President Trump made a stop in Georgia.
2,000. The death toll a tick under 1,000.
Let's check the numbers now at our local hospitals. University, the latest facility to roll back its visitation policy. They say because of a surge in COVID patients, no visitors will be allowed unless the patient is considered by the physician to be at the end of life. As for the case numbers, University Hospital saw 19 new positive cases today, bringing their total seen to 778. Right now they have 85 people being treated. AU Health reporting almost 90 new cases. They've seen more than 2,100 total positives there. Aiken Regional reporting 23 more cases, bringing that total to 285. Doctors Hospital with 3 more cases. That's 128 total there, and 21 people in the hospital. Charlie Norwood VA with 140 total cases. That's an increase of 15 cases since yesterday. Much more news ahead after a check of the weather and a live look there at Grovetown as we check in with Chief Meteorologist Riley Hale.
Nice afternoon for most of us, Richard. We are currently...
It is dangerously hot out there. The number of children dying from heat stroke by either being left in or trapped in a car, that number has increased over the years. That's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. KidsInCars.org says in 2016, 39 U.S. children in ages 14 and under died from car heat strokes, and last year that number was 53. Troopers say there have been 8 pediatric car heat stroke deaths in the U.S. this year. Law enforcement says do what you can to help if you happen to see someone in danger.
Well, kids, their heating system doesn't work the same as an adult. They aren't able to regulate heat. That's why they sweat differently than an adult.
Captain Evans says it's better to take the chance of breaking the window instead of letting that person or that pet stay in a hot car.
The family of Sequoia Turner, the 8-year-old girl killed by gun violence in Atlanta, is now one step closer to justice. On the day of Turner's funeral, a teenager has been charged in her death. Authorities say 19-year-old Julian Connolly is charged with murder and aggravated assault in connection to Turner's death July 4th. His attorney says Connolly was at the scene but did not shoot Turner. Richmond County deputies searching for evidence after 3 people are arrested in the shooting death of an Aiken man. This is video from earlier today as they searched Lake Olmsted. Also today, a 3rd suspect, 21-year-old Christopher McCrary, has been charged with murder in Marquand Doyle's death. Law enforcement says Doyle was found dead in a car on Service Drive just off Millage Road around 3 yesterday morning. 17-year-old Marquez Warney and 16-year-old Lewis Wigfall were also arrested and charged with murder. The 2 teenagers were both found and treated the same night Doyle was found. Wigfall is a juvenile, but will be charged as an adult.
The Lincoln County community banding together
Through the next 7 days.
It is a scorcher. Riley, thank you. Having no place to call home is a struggle, especially during a pandemic. Coming up, a local mother story about not giving up.
Online at vitalitymedcenters.com.
Finding resources during a pandemic can be difficult, even tougher for the homeless population when their resources are slim to begin with.
One parent shared her story with our Tradisha Woodard as she tries to help others find a light at the end of the tunnel with her message of hope.
Sharicia Meyer says, as a parent, you never want your child to worry about whether or not they have a place to lay their head.
He's like, well, Mom, are we homeless? And it hurt.
For weeks, Myers and her 16-year-old son searched for a place to call home.
I didn't know where to go, what to do. Everything was not falling in place.
She says being homeless during this pandemic didn't leave many options. Vacancies were slim to none, so they slept in the car.
I'd have to wait until he go to sleep and then, make sure that all the doors were locked, and it took a toll.
Augusta Housing and Community Development Department says right now they're seeing a lot of first-time homeless families and a few more people they're helping head into permanent units.
In this pandemic, a lot of people are at their worst.
She says things were tough, but she kept pushing until she found a place.
When I was finally able to relax and not worry about having to lock the doors in the car and make sure the windows are rolled up, it was like a burden being lifted off.
She says it feels good to have a place both her and her son can call home.
Oh my God, he's too happy.
Tradisha Woodard on your side.
Things are tough out there, Meredith. Even tougher when there are children involved with a homeless situation.
They are, and think of how many people are going to be in this situation as unemployment numbers continue to skyrocket. This pandemic, even if you don't have COVID or never contract it, still will affect you in some way.
Widespread consequences there. Riley?
Yeah.
On your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Hand sanitizers and misters inside Columbia County schools. We take a look at some of the safety measures our local school districts are taking.
Plus, Governor McMaster says measures like those are necessary because kids need to be in school. We look at how Aiken County plans line up with what the governor said today.
And the high school football season pushed back in South Carolina, but there's a plan for it still to happen in the fall. We'll walk you through the latest plan. But first this evening, Aiken County schools say they're going to review their whole back-to-school plan after Governor Henry McMaster had a news conference earlier today.
He says schools across South Carolina should give parents the option to send kids back to school 5 days a week. Aiken County Schools released a statement in the last hour saying they know 5 days a week is not a mandate, but they're still going to review their plans in a meeting next Tuesday, adding their highest priority will be the safety of students, staff, and families. Today, the governor talked about how important it is kids are in class.
So what we need to do is take every step at our disposal to see to it that our children get back in their classrooms where they all want to be, where the teachers want them to be, where the district personnel want them to be, and all of us want to be. We must do it safely, we must do it carefully, but we must do it.
Superintendent Molly Spearman was not at that news conference today, but she responded in this statement. She says, our goal must be a return to 5-day-a-week instruction as safely and soon as possible. But we cannot turn a blind eye to the health and safety of our students and the staff when the spread of the virus in some of our communities is among the highest in the world.
This is what Aiken County decided on yesterday. 2 options. There is no 5-day-a-week option at the start of school, but we asked Spearman's office, and they said this plan would be acceptable. Brady Trapnell walks us through it.
Aiken County Schools says they're calling a special board meeting for next Tuesday to review their back-to-school plans after Governor McMaster's comments this morning conflicted with their hybrid model. For now, there's still 2 options for parents.
It won't be busy always, but Aiken County is trying to offer as close to normal learning as they can. Under the hybrid model, they'll split students into 2 groups, the blue and red group. The blue group is in person Monday, Tuesday, the red in person Wednesday, Thursday. The other 3 days, students will learn remotely.
There's just not going to be a foolproof way to make this happen.
Tammy Eichelberger has 2 kids in Aiken County schools. She says her children will go back in person.
They lost a lot of valuable learning and instruction by virtual.
But Aiken County says their Innovate platform will be better. With teachers and students devoted 100% online, they will have an organized schedule with some live teaching and some pre-recorded. For those with no internet, the school district says they will likely offer hotspots or the option to download course materials a week ahead and they've ordered computers for students without them. For in-person, students and staff will be asked to wear masks, but only where social distancing isn't possible. And students will help with cleaning off their desk in between classes, and there will be temperature checks twice a day. But even parents realize the plan isn't going to be perfect.
There's going to be kids that are going to carry the virus and not know it.
The school district says the deadline to register for fully online learning is on Monday, and they say they'll, of course, continue to be flexible as the situation changes. We'll have those registration links on our website. Reporting on your side, I'm Brady Troutman.
The hybrid option would see kids transition to 5 days a week if coronavirus conditions allow.
So what about the start date? Governor McMaster says districts should target September the 8th, the day after Labor Day, for reopening. School districts in counties experiencing high spread of COVID-19 should stick with distance learning. DHEC says 45 out of 46 counties in South Carolina are experiencing exactly that. The governor said those are just guidelines and again stressed the importance of face-to-face instruction for children.
An executive order on this. The legislature has spoken. The leadership is here. It is in the continuing resolution that it is the superintendents and the districts that will provide these plans for getting the children back to school. That is the law.
School districts are being asked to submit their plans to the State Department of Education by Friday.
Here's a look outside over Aiken to weather now. Riley, it's the kind of day when you walk outside, you want to walk right back in.
Exactly right, Sierra. And actually, today was officially the hottest day of 2020 for us. In Augusta, we hit a high of 99 degrees at both Bushfield and Daniel Field. So that is the hottest day of the year for us. We have yet to hit 100 so far, but keep your fingers crossed that it sticks that way because we know the dog days of summer are upon us and we have plenty of more hot weather in store for the rest of the year. Now, the heat index, this has been pretty bad today. We've seen as high as 108 in Evans earlier. We're currently feeling like 107 now, 101 in Augusta, 100 in Aiken, even up there in Saluda feeling like 105. And unfortunately, not much rain relief. Another afternoon with fairly dry conditions across most of the CSRA. Good storm activity south of I-75 and south of I-20. But for us, we have been tracking this outflow boundary that helps initiate some more thunderstorm development. But it is struggling to do so out there today. You can definitely see that boundary on radar, but it's just not producing much. So I would anticipate most of us stay dry for the rest of this evening, and right around sunset, we should start to see that cloud cover clear out, and we should be mostly clear through the overnight hours. And if we have the clear skies tonight, it is going to be another great opportunity to see the space station. We'll let you know how you can see it coming up in that full forecast.
Riley, thanks a lot. To schools on the Georgia side now as Richmond County pushes back the start of the school year to September the 8th.
Students that choose traditional learning will be in class Monday through Friday instead of through Thursday like the original plan. Parents can choose all virtual learning. You have to apply by July 27th. Parents may end up choosing that option because of safety concerns. I talked to Richmond County Schools about the precautions they're taking.
Only parents or only the family can decide or say what is best for them and do what's comfortable.
A difficult decision, but the district hoping to make it easier. From limiting bell schedules.
So it may be that in an elementary school, students are together as a group for the entirety of their school day, and the teachers rotate through their classrooms.
To changing hallways.
Or it may be in high school when students enter the school, the direction of the hallways is one way.
Back to school safety ideas soaring while COVID cases surging. We compiled this list from the Richmond County school system. It's all part of their immediate plan to safely reopen. The district will consider whether masks should be encouraged or required, possibly reducing class sizes to meet social distancing rules, staff to add sneeze guards and sanitizing stations across all campuses, daily checkpoints for buses and buildings, plus partnering with community agencies to still offer, though limited, after-school care programs. Spokeswoman Lynthia Ross telling us the district's main goal is to minimize the learning gap, making sure the online academy mirrors in-person learning, adding it would be completely unlike the distance learning from last school year.
Their teachers will be actually hands-on. There'll be assessments of their work. There'll be grades.
The plan,
as it stands now means training teachers to spot symptoms of not just COVID, but student anxiety and stresses related to it, training students to adjust to new learning systems, plus relying on parent-teacher communication more than ever before.
Parents can be assured that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that their students are as safe as possible. We're going to teach them safety protocols, safety procedures at the very beginning of the school year.
Parents, again, the deadline to choose is now extended until July 27th. If you change your mind after that date, the district says it will consider requests on a case-by-case basis. Also, they tell us if COVID cases continue to surge, the board may consider moving to an all-learning online.
We're also getting our first look at what schools in Columbia County could look like when students head back. There are hand sanitizers at each entrance, and they're using misters to disinfect schools and buses every day.
This is inside Lakeside High. We're seeing this the day after school officials update their back-to-school plan, too.
They did not push back their start date. Columbia County's first day of traditional classes set for the 3rd day of August. Teachers and all middle and high schoolers will have to wear a mask. School leaders say about 85% of students have opted to go back to the classroom. Columbia County reporter Laura Puglisi takes a look at the precautions.
From buses to hallways to classrooms, things will look very different when students in Columbia County return to school in the fall. The new revised plan puts in place safety measures to keep students healthy and also adds a contingency plan if cases do continue to rise. From disinfecting rooms to installing hand sanitizers, back to school will be different in Columbia County.
We purchase misters to use in the buildings so that at a minimum of 1 time a day we can disinfect the entire building. We're also planning on using these on our buses between every route before as we unload and reload for the next school.
Cliff Sanders is the Director of Facility Maintenance Operations. He says safety plans include spaced out desks, sneeze guards, and even a disinfectant in the HVAC system to clean the air.
To know that we're doing everything we can to make sure that these buildings are first primarily clean and then disinfected properly.
All of this part of the district's revised back-to-school plan, one that now requires teachers and middle and high schoolers to wear masks in the hallways. Superintendent Dr. Caraway says they've also received a waiver for mandatory attendance.
There can't be any tolerance for illness, so we are going to impress upon our faculty, our parents, please do not come to school sick. If you are ill in any way, you need to stay home.
This includes people with allergies or even negative coronavirus results. Anyone with any symptoms will not be able to return to school for at least 3 days. If cases continue to rise, they'll adjust to a hybrid model. For those who choose to return to school in person, classes will begin on August 3rd. Now, for those who are going to learn from home, for middle and high schoolers, classes will begin on August 10th. And elementary schoolers, their start date is August 17th. In Columbia County, Laura Puglisi, on your side.
And here's another change. Open houses for back to school will be virtual this year with a couple of exceptions. New students, 6th graders, and 9th graders will all be allowed to physically go and tour their new school.
Tonight at midnight, Governor Kemp's executive order requiring social distancing and banning gatherings of more than 50 people is set to expire. We reached out to the governor's office to see if he's going to let it expire or extend that order. They said they will release a statement. We're still waiting for that update. Governor Kemp set to make that decision as coronavirus cases keep rising fast. Another huge spike for Georgia with more than 3,800 new cases today. 28 more people have died.
In South Carolina, more than 1,800 new cases. That includes 73 new cases in Aiken County and 30 more in Orangeburg County. But South Carolina reporting no new deaths since yesterday, which is, of course, good news. And cases rising in our local hospitals as well. 31 new cases at AU Health with 42 people in the hospital. At University, 19 new cases and now 85 COVID patients inpatient.
3 new cases at Doctors Hospital with 21 patients in the hospital there. 38 new cases at Aiken Regional and 15 new at Charlie Norwood VA.
We have another great opportunity to see the space station tonight. We'll let you know how you can see it coming up in that full forecast.
High school football in South Carolina pushed back, but still expected to happen in the fall. We'll walk you through the plan.
And talk about a close call. Have you heard about Riley's wedding ring? It ended up at the bottom of the lake.
Here
11.
Thanks a lot, Mike, for that. Did you see Riley's post on Facebook today? Talk about your lucky breaks. Riley spent this morning, with a diver at the lake looking for his wedding ring, and somehow he found it. So naturally, we wanted to hear the whole story. So Riley, you got the ring back. That is a huge lake. How'd you lose it, and where did you lose it?
So usually I wear this ring, which is a silicone ring, out fishing out of the water. So if you lose it, no big deal. Well, I forgot that day. And it was very hot. It was upper 90s up at the lake, so I dipped my hands in the water, and I had some sun protection gloves on. Got my hands wet, just kind of shook them to shake them dry, and went straight in the water. 17 feet of water, and it was near the Murray Creek boat ramp, if you're familiar with the upper end of Clark's Hill. So it was a good ways away. And I mean, Luke was out there at least an hour and 20 minutes before he found it. So we had to kind of pepper the area where it happened before he finally found it.
Okay.
And it was coming up towards the end of it. He popped out of the water and said, "Riley, I found it." And I screamed across the lake like, "No way!" But it was amazing.
You kept really quiet about this here at work. We had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything about it. It felt awful.
How did you tell Emily about this when you got home?
That was a tough conversation. that was a phone call I made, and then she hung up on me. And then,
man.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
So you hired a diver.
So I hired a diver.
This happened over the weekend. Days go by, and then this morning he comes up with a ring. And you're not wearing it right now, like you said.
I'm afraid to wear it now. I just want to keep this silicone one, just in case I lose it. It's no big deal. But
lessons learned.
Thank you, Luke. Luke is the man. So reach out to him if you ever lose
anything.
anything.
You better thank a lot of people, a lot of higher powers on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Needle in a haystack.
Good Lord, for sure. Yeah, you definitely played a role today. And it was a needle in a haystack situation. But getting to the weather now, we have a few storms out there, mainly around the CS area, but not on top of the CS area. We had a few storms try to bubble up in Washington County earlier this afternoon, and there are some storms just on the outskirts of those counties. But I would anticipate most of us stay fairly dry for the rest of this evening, even though we are tracking some rain-cooled air trying to set off some new storms, but they're really struggling to do it. Not much going on out there. We still have generally clear skies, a little bit of a haze out there. Still 98 degrees. We hit a high of 99 earlier today, so that was the hottest day so far of 2020. Tonight, if these clouds stay out of here, we should be able to see this again. International Space Station flying over at 9:11 tonight. This is going to be a long one, too. This one's going to last 6 minutes, but it's not going to be quite as high as the one last night, but it's still high enough to where you should be able to see it if you want to check it out later this evening. Overnight tonight, expecting generally clear skies. That should allow for some patchy fog to form early tomorrow morning. Shouldn't last too much past sunrise out there tomorrow. Thursday afternoon is going to be hot again. We're expecting highs in the mid-90s. An isolated storm is possible, similar to what we're seeing out there this afternoon. Most of us are dry, but there may just be one county that sees a quick little downpour. Thursday afternoon is going to be hot for everybody, at least in the low 90s, most of us reaching the mid-90s tomorrow afternoon. And the heat so far this week and expected to stick around all the way into next week as well, is thanks to our jet stream. So this big upper level ridge is providing sinking air, is providing very warm air, and keeping that cool air well north of us. So over the next several days, we're not really expecting a budge in our temperatures. It's going to stay pretty warm all the way through Sunday into Monday as well, and most of next week trending at least seasonal or slightly above as far as those high temperatures go. And lake plans, remember, don't wear your nice wedding rings out to the lake if you're heading out there. We do have the chance for a few afternoon storms Saturday and Sunday, and it will be pretty warm up at the lake with highs reaching the mid-90s. Now, next week, we're going to stick with the heat, and there's going to be a better risk for storms going into Monday and Tuesday. A little bit different pattern than what we're seeing out there the next few days. But for your Thursday and Friday, wouldn't expect to see too much in the way of storms.
A live look right now in downtown North Augusta, where protesters are beginning to gather